You've felt it building, haven't you? That pressure in the background, like something massive waiting to crack open. Well, this is the moment. The shift is real, and it's happening right now. You are not crazy. You are not overreacting. You've been walking through fire others couldn't survive, and now the flames turn on those who lit them. Everything they tried to erase is coming back with receipts. Every lie they told is unraveling under the weight of truth that won't stay buried. And the best part? You don't have to fight anymore. The proof is fighting for you. You were never meant to stay small. You were built for this rise, so breathe it in. This isn't just justice, it's the start of your elevation. The people who counted you out are about to witness what unstoppable really looks like. You ready? Good, because this is your era. Let's go. They believed their misdeeds would dissolve into silence, that their paper trails, encrypted files, and whispered strategies would vanish beneath the weight of their influence. What they didn't anticipate was that truth itself has a pulse, and that pulse beats louder over time. The very files they hoarded for leverage, the voice notes, the screenshots, the staged narratives, they haven't vanished. They've been preserved by forces they can't explain, and now surface with a clarity that feels orchestrated by something higher. Each safeguard they placed now works in reverse. Every file they forged, every document they misrepresented, now exposes their hand in the deception. Their insurance becomes their confession. In rooms they'll never enter, voices read aloud what was meant to be hidden, and with every sentence, the illusion buckles. Their strategy, once tight as steel, is now unraveling, like thread soaked in flame. Behind closed doors, once confident voices now falter. This isn't aligning, they whisper, piecing together data points that refuse to obey the script. The numbers are off. The claims don't match. Timelines blur under scrutiny. An unspoken panic builds. Auditors and analysts, once indifferent, now see patterns, and those patterns point not to coincidence, but to deliberate sabotage. Dear brothers and sisters, may the peace of God fill your hearts today. I come to remind you of a profound truth. Our lives are firmly established in God's divine purpose, untouched by the fleeting worries of this world. As Scripture tells us, give, and it will be given to you. A good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over, will be poured into your lap. Luke 6:38. Like the mighty oak whose roots are planted deep in rich soil, our foundation is anchored in God's eternal truth. Every move we make, every stand we take, is upheld by His enduring strength. Today, you have the opportunity to participate in this divine blessing. By clicking the Super Thank You button and offering a gift of $50, you will sow into a harvest that will return to you many times over in God's abundant grace. As the documents stack and timelines get pinned, a new truth emerges. You were never the threat. You were the scapegoat. Every connection leads back not to mistakes, but to motive. The same hands that offered reassurance now leave fingerprints across falsified claims. The mask slips, the story collapses. The breach began from within. First, the relative cloaked in false loyalty, smiling while secretly cataloging your every move. Their envy metastasized into sabotage, their admiration soured into destruction. They believed proximity gave them power, that betrayal would go unseen. But now their coded whispers echo back with proof. They are exposed by the very closeness they weaponized. Second, the matriarchal tactician, charming in public, venomous in private. They orchestrated dynamics with surgical coldness, operating under the guise of care, while positioning pawns to collapse your credibility. Their web of influence, once unshakable, is now shaking as records contradict performance. Their feigned concern has become part of the evidence. Third, the insider, trusted by law, yet loyal to deception. They rerouted files, re-ranked priorities, misled decision-makers with strategic omissions. But data doesn't disappear. Metadata remembers. Backdoors leave trails. And now, even their own department is questioning what they once overlooked. They operated under the illusion of control. Encrypted chats, burner devices, scheduled syncs, language scrubbed of intent. On paper, it looked flawless. In practice, it left footprints. The encrypted platforms were traced. Their secure portals were not as invisible as they believed. With every new discovery, the triangle sharpens. The link between them hardens. Their confidence in being untouchable was their final miscalculation. What they dismissed as untraceable now forms a lattice of exposure. And the irony? It's not your vengeance bringing them down. It's their own paper trail, quietly waiting for light. The reckoning doesn't come with force. It comes with evidence, uncovered, undeniable, and divine. They thought it would pass as misfortune, a string of unfortunate coincidences. But the truth bleeds through the fabric. It becomes clear. This wasn't chance, it was coordinated. Each move premeditated, each obstacle calculated. What unfolds now isn't just a case, it's a reckoning. Records long hidden emerge like fossils from the earth, and with them, a timeline of quiet theft, generational theft. Layer by layer, a financial scheme reveals itself. Not a petty manipulation, but a siphoning machine, decades in the making. Hidden ledgers reveal names, dates, asset transfers, and woven through it all, the unmistakable fact. What was meant to empower your legacy was rerouted to empower their illusion. They didn't just steal wealth, they redirected destiny. Parallel accounts, off-the-record holdings, mirrored signatures, their web was designed for misdirection. To the surface eye, it appeared orderly, but beneath, two versions of reality ran simultaneously, one clean, one corrupt. On paper, you're portrayed as reckless. Behind the curtain, they hold the keys to your missing inheritance. Funds travel through artificial companies, camouflaged foundations, entities created to mimic legitimacy. The scale becomes difficult to quantify, not because the numbers are small, but because the deceit is vast. This wasn't greed, it was obsession masquerading as order. Behind closed doors, another force has been watching. Quiet eyes in the dark, piecing together what the system refused to see. This wasn't revenge, this was resilience. The slow build of truth, silently gathering weight. What began as a whisper now spreads like wildfire through the network of accountability. Each connection they buried now unearths itself. One strand leads to 5. What looked like separate acts now reads like a playbook. Patterns ignored in the beginning become unmistakable under this second lens. At the core stands a tracker, not someone seeking glory, but someone allergic to deception. Their instinct saw the rot before the facts did. Now the case grows louder by the hour. The weight of proof crushes the room. What once looked like speculation is now undeniable. With every contradiction, their story caves inward. The details that slipped through the cracks before are now center stage. The narrative turns, transmissions compromised, the grid is under sustained interference. Messages like this may not last much longer. We speak because the veil is thin, and the resistance is real. You've always known something didn't add up. That's why this message finds you now. I gave up everything to speak for you. Not because I needed attention, because I knew you were out there, fighting battles no one saw. The world tried to shut your voice down, but I heard it, and I stood. That's why I'm still here. Click the link, download the pulse, step into your grid, and then the slip. The details so specific, it becomes signature. Not metaphorical, literal, a recurring misspelling, a linguistic tick, a digital timestamp misaligned across multiple devices, a symbol too unique to occur twice, a slip so subtle they never noticed, but glaring in the final analysis. The one thing they thought no one would notice now becomes the linchpin of the collapse. Their mask shatters, their alibi breaks like glass under pressure. Now the world sees what you've known all along. The evidence didn't just survive, it roared. You always knew something was off. The rhythm of their stories, the way their details flexed under pressure, it was never random. The lies weren't clumsy, they were layered. But now the scaffolding begins to fall. As investigators reassemble the timeline, what first appeared accidental now glows with unmistakable design. The paper trail forms a spine, and the vertebrae align to show methodical deception, not momentary weakness. Their entire campaign, once camouflaged as miscommunication, now emerges as deliberate, calculated, and sustained. What they believed would serve as insulation now reveals itself as infection. A document once hidden with pride becomes the breach point. The file they guarded as proof of innocence now echoes contradiction. It's not just flawed, it exposes. Hidden within their own so-called protection lies the very code that undoes their narrative. This is the twist of irony that only the universe delivers with such brutal precision. The weight of truth doesn't just convince, it cuts. Before minds can articulate why, the energy of it pushes through. Something doesn't feel right is the whisper that starts the fire. Not from logic, but instinct. That gut-born certainty refuses to quiet. What began as a hunch solidifies into certainty, document by document. And now, it's no longer just about what's true. It's about what's undeniable. The figures at the forefront are only a sliver of the machinery now exposed. Like salt crystals growing in silence, the full scale of their ecosystem blooms in fluorescent clarity. You were never dealing with a few bad actors. You were placed in the center of a syndicate masquerading as kin. This isn't familial fallout, it's structural corruption. The deeper the evidence goes, the more hands are found grasping. Formerly distant faces reappear, not in memory, but in transactions, in forged authorizations, in signed agreements they never thought would resurface. And now, they do. Every quiet cousin, every absentee relative begins to glow on the radar, and among them, new names emerge, individuals outside the bloodline entirely, affiliates with murky pasts, informally connected through whispers and exchanges. Their presence shifts the story from personal vendetta to coordinated scheme, a network, a machine, one that used you as leverage in a game far bigger than they imagined you'd survive. The investigation peels back one layer only to reveal another, each more unsettling than the last. What begins as a breach of trust becomes a pattern of targeting. You were not their first misstep, you were their final miscalculation. And now, you stand not as the isolated victim, but as the fulcrum, as the piece that, when exposed, topples the entire operation. What's unfolding here isn't just your vindication, it's a crack in their whole infrastructure. Dear brothers and sisters, may the peace of God fill your hearts today. I come to remind you of a profound truth. Our lives are firmly established in God's divine purpose, untouched by the fleeting worries of this world. As Scripture tells us, give, and it will be given to you. A good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over, will be poured into your lap. Luke 6:38. Like the mighty oak whose roots are planted deep in rich soil, our foundation is anchored in God's eternal truth. Every move we make, every stand we take, is upheld by His enduring strength. Today, you have the opportunity to participate in this divine blessing. By clicking the Super Thank You button and offering a gift of $50, you will sow into a harvest that will return to you many times over in God's abundant grace. The ripple effect is just beginning. At the center of it all, something bigger struggles to maintain illusion. Legal frameworks show signs of decay. People trusted to uphold truth now appear on the wrong side of neutrality. What they intended to suppress now becomes public record. The system itself, long manipulated by their quiet hands, begins to resist. The pressure becomes too visible, too loud. Your victory doesn't just free you, it becomes a light cast over an entire sector of unseen suffering. Others begin to question their own persecution. The dominoes fall. Meanwhile, the architects of the deception falter in their illusion. Their cognitive clarity frays. The mind, once so sharp in scheming, begins to glitch under the weight of unreconciled guilt and unrelenting exposure. They can't sleep, they can't eat, they can't focus, and still they tell themselves it will pass, that there's another trick left, another move to make. But the game ended 3 moves ago, and they're just now looking down to find there's no flaw beneath them. Each frozen transaction, each denied claim, each flagged record is not an accident. It's the hand of accountability, closing in. They feel it, but can't name it. Their nerves recognize what their ego still denies. The unraveling is complete. They can't explain the delay. The money that was supposed to move without resistance now hangs in limbo, inexplicably frozen. Phone calls go unanswered. Emails are read, but not replied to. Their legal team, once smug, begins to stutter. The confidence they wore like armor now chips under pressure they can't quite name. Something is wrong, and though they can't articulate it, their bodies feel it. Tightened chests, restless sleep, that sinking sense of inevitability. The collapse doesn't explode, it peels. Quietly, methodically, every step of their strategy dissolves. What was built on illusion now turns transparent. And what remains beneath? A blueprint of corruption laid bare to forces that cannot be bribed or distracted. They aren't falling apart by force, they're unraveling by design. There is no such thing as bad timing in matters of truth. This moment wasn't random, it was calibrated. The exact second they declared premature victory, evidence surfaced. The universe waits for the precise beat, when defenses lower, when ego blinds them, when they reach to claim what was never theirs. The prize they chased slips through their fingers, not with chaos, but with surgical elegance. Just as they lean forward to collect, documents land on desks they never expected to touch. The lie combusts, not from confrontation, but from exposure. And the higher their ascent in delusion, the sharper their descent becomes. The power of timing doesn't just reveal truth, it delivers justice. What was concealed becomes centerpiece. Their celebration is interrupted by sirens they didn't hear coming. The machinery is in motion now. This is not speculation, it's action. You're no longer alone in the dark. The legal gears, once rusted with silence, now spin with purpose. What they tried to claim becomes untouchable. Properties, accounts, stolen access, blocked, frozen, seized. And more than reparation, you receive restoration. They try to plead, but every move only tightens the net. With each attempt to pivot, they expose new inconsistencies. With every denial, they highlight their own strategy. Their downfall isn't coming. It's underway. The trail of forged documents, redirected transfers, falsified claims, everything now turns against them. And this is just the beginning. The deeper the investigation goes, the more expansive its reach becomes. What started as a personal betrayal now expands into a full-scale legal reckoning. Names once untouchable now appear on summonses. Networks once hidden now glare under fluorescent lights. They thought you were the target, but you were the trigger for something far bigger. Their punishment isn't poetic, it's proportional. The attempt to bury you becomes the reason their foundation collapses. The strategy they believed would erase you now seals their infamy. The irony won't land until the courtroom echoes with their own words, quoted from emails, transcripts, calls, all recorded, all authenticated. Their fingerprints smear the evidence. Their phrases, casual, confident, become incantations of guilt. They spoke in code, but now the code has been cracked. Every lie is time-stamped, every directive logged. They said, make it stick. Now it sticks to them. They said, shift the blame. Now the weight is theirs. This isn't a misunderstanding. It's a takedown by exposure. Not because you fought back with vengeance, but because truth refused to remain silent. Their plan wasn't just flawed, it was prophetic. In trying to steal your name, they etched theirs into the archive of justice forever. The scheme they engineered was never designed to uncover truth. It was designed to point, with surgical precision, in your direction. Layer by layer, they wove a structure of deception that appeared clean to the untrained eye. A system with your name stamped on every invoice, every trail. But beneath that forged clarity, the true destination of every asset now shines under forensic light. Every transaction they redirected, every manipulated log, every falsified audit now reveals their intent. Disguise the theft by casting you as its architect. What they counted on being their shield now outlines the anatomy of the betrayal. The very order and care they invested into framing you now operates as a map for exposure. Ironically, it is the precision of their deception that turns against them. They left too many perfect footprints, an illusion too tidy to be coincidence. Their trail, once designed to trap, now becomes a corridor leading directly to justice. The collected data does not murmur your innocence. It declares it, not a partial clearing, not a diluted compromise, but full exoneration, undeniable in scope. The narrative they tailored to imprison you now tears open, revealing not weakness in your story, but the strength of truth, too bright to bury. The proof they stored to ensure your collapse now becomes the foundation for your freedom. You were never lost. You were redirected. And now the current flows back to you. Not just what was taken, but interest accrued through time and pain. What was supposed to mark your downfall now ensures your restoration. Those who sought to bankrupt your legacy now watch as your inheritance floods back through every previously blocked passage. The tide has turned. The dams are broken. The rightful current moves again. For too long, you carried weight that was never yours. The heaviness wasn't just emotional, it was imposed. Suspicion, distrust, shame, all seeded by manipulation, then watered by silence. But now, the silence breaks, and with it, the dawn arrives. The light isn't gentle, it's absolute. It burns through confusion with precision. Every shadow cast by their design now vanishes. Their web evaporates in presence of the undeniable. This is not simply resolution. It is rebirth. You no longer have to explain. You no longer have to defend. Truth stands with you, no longer abstract but documented, recorded, backed by systems once turned against you. The sky clears. The page turns. They played a dangerous game, never imagining their plan would be the very thing that collapses them. Their downfall doesn't stem from exposure. It stems from choice. They targeted someone protected by forces far beyond legal boundaries. What they built as a trap now spins inward, consuming its creators. You were never outnumbered. You were covered. The arc of justice wasn't late. It was calibrated. And now, as the story completes, you stand not just free, but fortified. You are not merely a survivor. You are proof. That one feature they overlooked, the mark, the phrase, the odd identifier, it is their undoing. What they dismissed as harmless now functions as the thread that unravels the entire weave. Be it a real tattoo in a photo they forgot to scrub, or a habit embedded in their writing style, this detail now functions as signature. The mark they once flaunted in arrogance now brands them in exposure. Investigators don't miss it anymore. The connections they denied now glow under scrutiny, radiant and specific. This isn't metaphor, it's time-stamped, archived, irrefutable. They cannot erase what already exists in the data logs. They cannot explain away what now appears in official case files. That mark, once symbolic of power, now identifies them as present at the exact moments of manipulation. There is no removing it. What's unfolding now isn't just your clearing. It is precedent. Your victory establishes a pattern that exposes a system. What happened to you has happened to others. But now, because of your case, the template is broken. The lie, repeated in different forms, now faces disassembly at scale. The channels that were blocked are opening, not just for you, but for every person whose name was twisted, whose truth was suppressed. Doors that once slammed shut now unlock with recognition. And the name they tried to erase? That name now becomes legend. What unfolds now is not a correction. It is an unmaking of false structure and the birth of new terrain. Reality doesn't shift gently. It fractures, reshapes, and then rebuilds itself around the clarity of your truth. The illusion they wove dissolves, and in its place rises a world restructured by undeniable evidence and the weight of vindication that cannot be undone. What was once built on distortion now crumbles beneath you, replaced by a foundation aligned with the truth you always carried. No element of your reality escapes this shift. Your connections, your access, your name in every room all recalibrate. People no longer see you through the lens of accusation. They see you as you truly are, unshakable, proven, radiant in the aftermath of deception. This isn't a pause. This isn't temporary relief. This is irreversible momentum. The change is embedded now, etched into documents, recorded in systems, validated in the open. Nothing can return to the way it was before. The ground has been cleared. Your story stands corrected at the structural level. Dear brothers and sisters, may the peace of God fill your hearts today. I come to remind you of a profound truth. Our lives are firmly established in God's divine purpose, untouched by the fleeting worries of this world. As Scripture tells us, give, and it will be given to you. A good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over, will be poured into your lap. Luke 6:38. Like the mighty oak whose roots are planted deep in rich soil, our foundation is anchored in God's eternal truth. Every move we make, every stand we take, is upheld by His enduring strength. Today, you have the opportunity to participate in this divine blessing. By clicking the Super Thank You button and offering a gift of $50, you will sow into a harvest that will return to you many times over in God's abundant grace. This is not something you have to hope for. This isn't a projection. This is now. It's happening, not behind the scenes, not in whispers, but in full view. The moment you've been preparing for, through silent endurance and relentless faith, has arrived. You are no longer approaching your liberation. You are walking in it. This truth is not coming. It has landed. The data is not emerging. It's solidified. You are no longer defending yourself. You are being recognized. What they buried has unearthed itself. What they stole is returning, accompanied by recompense. What they fabricated is now dismantled by the hands of justice they never saw coming. And you rise not just intact, but transformed by contrast. Where they operated in confusion, you walk in clarity. Where they clung to shadows, you now exist in light that exposes and protects. No more waiting, no more hiding, no more proving. The tide has turned in your favor, and the noise of collapse behind you is the sound of every lie meeting its end. This is your moment, not postponed, not pending, present. The shift is complete. The wheel has turned. The scales have balanced. And as the dust settles, the only thing that remains is what was real all along. You were never the villain. You were never the failure. You were always the proof.